Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where today we're doing a comparison between three sub $500 electric guitars. Now this is the Harley Benton TE69TL Hot Rod Roasted Thinline Telecaster type guitar, and off camera right now we have my 2014 Epiphone Les Paul Traditional Pro and my 2017-2018 Ibanez Artcore AS73FM, which is a Gibson or Epiphone 335 type of guitar. Now there's two main reasons why I'm making this video, and they both hinge around the TE69. So Harley Benton loaned me this guitar to make some videos, and I've been very impressed with it. I love Telecasters, they're my favorite kind of guitar to own and to play, and this is a Thinline Tele, so it gives you something different as well. It also has a humbucking bridge pickup, so that's the hot rod part of the name, so it has something extra. So what I wanted to do was, in the one hand, compare the Thinline to two other guitars that players looking for Thinlines might also go for, and the wisdom of the internet suggests that Les Pauls and 335s are both great options for players who want something a bit different from the Thinline. The other part of this video that I want to look at is the versatility of these three guitars, because I believe that they all cost under $500 or euros, and for that price point they're possibly some of the most versatile guitars out there, so we're going to try and find out that too. So I'm going to play the three guitars in this video in as many different musical styles as I possibly can, so we can hear how similar and how different they sound across a variety of genres. I'll also give you my detailed opinions on having had the guitars and played them intensively and extensively over the period that I've had them. That's over 7 or 8 years in the case of the 2014 Epiphone Les Paul. And then what I will do is tell you which I think is going to be worth your money the most at the end of the day. First though, let me tell you about the specs and the features briefly of all three guitars, and we'll start with the Harley Benton TE69TL. So the Harley Benton TE69TL Hot Rod Roasted first came out in late 2022, and I was pretty excited when it did, because this guitar will set you back 220 euros, and on paper it looks like it has fantastic specifications for that money. So let's start with the body then. Now this is a semi-hollow body, so there's a hole in here where the F-hole is, and the body itself and the top are both made of ash. Beautiful natural wood grain to this one as well. It looks really fantastic and looks proper expensive too, especially with this black scratch plate that juxtaposes against the natural wood perfectly. It looks fantastic and it looks very expensive. On the top of the guitar though, it looks like a traditional Thinline sort of appointments. We've got Harley Benton no-name hardware, we've got an ashtray, 3-saddle Telecaster type bridge, we've got a volume and a tone control, and a 3-way selector switch here. The magic and the extras are in these Roswell pickups. Now this is a standard Telecaster neck pickup, full single coil, but the bridge is a stacked humbucking pickup, and the specific model is the Roswell Tech B Alnico 5 stacked TE humbucker. So this is actually a stacked humbucking pickup, and you pull up the tone control to split it down to single coil mode. I'll just flick it across to the back again, and we can see string through body here and your bolt-on standard Telecaster type neck. And moving up to that neck, we have another beautiful feature here for the money. This is a roasted maple neck and fingerboard. It's satin finished on the back and it feels absolutely beautiful. Now this guitar has a Fender approved scale length of 25.5 inches. The neck profile is a medium C shape, very comfy, fits in pretty much any hand. We have 21 frets. Harley Benton don't tell us the size of the frets, but I think that they're medium jumbos. The fingerboard radius of this guitar is 12 inches and we have a 42mm graphite nut. Now if I just move us up to the headstock then, that's a Tele-esque sort of a headstock and 6-in-line Clouson style tuners. So that's the Harley Benton TE69TL. A lot of guitar for our money, but how does it stack up against the Epiphone Les Paul and the Ibanez AS73FM? That's what we're going to find out. Let's look at the specs of the Ibanez next. And so this is the Ibanez Artcore AS73FM in Azure Blue Gradation. And the first thing you'll notice is that amazing Azure Blue Gradation finish. It starts with a beautiful sky blue up here and goes down to a beautiful turquoise swimming pool or Mediterranean Sea or something like that. It is a wonderful looking guitar, and that's what caught my eye with this one when I first found out about it about 5 or 6 years ago now, and I just had to have one. This guitar would have set me back about 300 euros back in the day, and they're probably about 450 to 500 euros or dollars now. So they've certainly gone up in price, and that marks them out as being about twice as much as the Harley Benton. However, this is a 335 style of guitar, and so it's one that many people would suggest is going to be a good complement to a Thinline Telecaster type of instrument. So let's look at the specs of this one then, and we start off with this beautiful Azure Blue Gradation flame maple top, and the back and sides of this guitar are actually linden wood, and that's similar looking to mahogany or cherry, which you'll find in many 335 type semi-hollow and hollow body guitars. Now we have a bunch of Ibanez stuff on the top of this guitar, two Ibanez Classic Elite humbuckers with a three-way selector switch and a volume and tone control for each pickup. And here we have a stop bar bridge tailpiece type operation, but they're both Ibanez products. We have the ART1 bridge, and we have the Quick Change 3 tailpiece there that should let you change strings quicker if that's your thing. Just flick us across to the back of the body again, and you can see that it is also double bound, the body here. The neck is also bound, and we have a Nyato or Nyato neck, however you say it. That's going to be similar to mahogany as well. This is a poly finish neck, so it's going to be stickier than the other two in today's test. The profile of this neck for me is a really nice rounded C shape. Starts slimmish, gets pretty thick up at the top end, so very, very familiar if you're a 335 type of player. Now, the scale length on this guitar is 24 3/4 inches, the same as you'll find on a Gibson or Epiphone Les Paul, for example. We have 22 medium frets on this Indian laurel fingerboard. The fingerboard radius is 12 inches or 305 millimeters. We have a plastic nut here, and if I move us up to the headstock, we can see that Ibanez Artcore headstock there. So this is the Ibanez AS73FM in the beautiful Azure Blue Gradation. And now let's look at the third guitar in our comparison, the 2014 Epiphone Les Paul Traditional Pro. And this is the 2014 Epiphone Les Paul Traditional Pro in this beautiful aqua blue flamed maple top finish. This is one of my two main guitars alongside my 2014 Mexican Fender Telecaster, and I've had it since new, and I just love this guitar. It cost me 330 euros back in the day, and it came with a pretty decent Epiphone hard case as well. In 2023, you've got no chance of finding a new guitar like this for that kind of a price. It's going to be north of 500 euros or dollars, I would have thought. So very much more expensive than the Harley Benton, and also more expensive than the Ibanez. So it's the most expensive guitar in our three-way test for today. So what do you get for your money? Well, you get the aforementioned flame maple top in this beautiful finish, and the body is mahogany, and it's painted black, and it's satin finished too, as is the back of the neck. So very slinky, very easy to play, feels great to have it on a strap. Now, on top of the body, we have a pretty standard looking Les Paul traditional setup. We've got two Epiphone Pro Bucker 3 Zebra humbucking pickups with a three-way selector switch. You've got a volume and a tone control for each of the pickups, and you also have split coil options on this guitar too. Now, I'm not going to spend any time on that in this video, but the option is there. You just pull up the volume knobs for each pickup to split them down to single coil modes. Now, I do have other videos where I really go into the split coil sounds of this guitar, which are fantastic, by the way. You can watch those at the links in the description later if you'd like to see that. We also have here the pretty standard stop bar tailpiece operation that you'd expect on a Gibson or Epiphone Les Paul. And if we move up to the neck, you can see that we've got a lovely dark rosewood fingerboard here, 22 medium jumbo frets with really nice trapezoid inlays. If I flick us over to the back again, you've got that black painted satin finish maple neck, which is a beautiful chunky C shape. Epiphone back in the day would say that this was their slim D taper neck profile, but it's absolutely not. This is one of the chunkiest necks that I own. It's a bound neck, it feels fantastic. It has a 12-inch fingerboard radius, so nice and flat as well. And this had a plastic nut back in the day, but over the years I've had a bone nut fitted, which made a massive difference to the guitar. Up here then, the old style Epiphone headstock, which irks me a little bit, but there you go. I'm not replacing the guitar with a new one just for the new headstock shape. And we have Grover tuners on this guitar. So that's the 2014 Epiphone Les Paul Traditional Pro. And what we're going to do now is put these three guitars to the test and play them in as many different musical styles and genres as I possibly can. Now, my rig for today is going to be my Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200 amp head. We'll start on the Amps Clean channel and play some folky stuff, some poppy stuff, and some nice strummed chords. Then we'll kick in the Crunch channel and play some classic rock and some indie rock as well. After that, we'll go up to the amp's lead channel, we'll play some heavier stuff, some harder rock, some punk rock, maybe some progressive rock. Then we'll go back to the clean channel, I'll kick in my Rev G3 distortion pedal, we'll tune the 3 guitars down to drop D and see if they can do a bit of metal chugging. So this is the three-way comparison between the Harley Benton TE69TL, the Ibanez Artcore AS73FM 335 type, and this, the 2014 Epiphone Les Paul Traditional Pro. Let's play them all now and we'll speak in more detail about them afterwards. Alright then, so that was the Harley Benton TE69TL Thinline Tele up against the Ibanez Artcore AS73FM and the Epiphone Les Paul Traditional Pro. And I hope you enjoyed the playing and the tones. And now what I need you to do is leave me a comment down there telling me which guitar you thought was best and maybe telling me why. It was a really interesting comparison, and these guitars are all similar in many respects, but they're actually really inherently different in others, and we got very different results in terms of the playing and in terms of the performance too. And so now what I'm going to do is give you some more detailed opinions from my perspective, having played all of these guitars pretty extensively since I've had them here, and I'm going to tell you which I think is probably the best guitar, if you could only choose one. Now, when you're choosing a new guitar to buy, there are many different categories and things that you might want to be thinking about, from price and looks through to performance, versatility, weight, and so on. And we're going to go through all of those now, and we'll kind of mark a winner for each of the categories. I'm excited, and I hope you are too. You're probably not, but stick around for the ride anyway. So we'll start with the first thing that you'll notice when you're looking at a new guitar, and that's probably going to be the price. And when it comes to price, the Harley Benton TE69TL is the clear winner there, because at 220 euros, it's half the price of the other two guitars. And for the specs on paper, it looks like an absolutely fantastic deal. And I can confirm that it really is a fantastic deal too. I do think that the other two guitars in this comparison are great value for money as well, but this is astounding for the money that it'll cost you. You're getting so much bang for your buck these days. Harley Benton has really knocked it out of the park with this guitar in terms of the price. So the Harley Benton wins purely on price grounds. But does it win on value for money grounds? We'll get into that in a little bit. I think the next thing that you'd look at would be how a guitar looks, the aesthetics of it, and there are three very different guitars to take into account here. Now, I think I really love the way that this guitar looks, but personally I tend to prioritize blue guitars over non-blue guitars. If there was a blue version of this, I might say it was the best looking, because I do love the ash grain on it, and this in a nice turquoise or ocean blue would look fantastic. However, well, the Epiphone also looks great, but that Azure Blue Gradation on the Ibanez probably shades it for that guitar. That's one guitar where I can just imagine, if you're not a player, having it as an art piece on the wall, because it just looks so wonderful. So for me personally, and this is 100% personal and subjective, this category, I'm going to give it to the Ibanez, but these three guitars all look pretty decent indeed. The next thing that we're going to look at is the build quality of the three guitars, and they're all pretty decent really. Again, the Harley Benton that I'm holding here is fantastic. Everything works on it. The cheap Harley Benton no-name tuners, the controls, the Roswell pickups are decent, the bridge is good, it was set up well from the factory, no complaints whatsoever with that guitar. And again, for 220 euros, fantastic value for money. Now the Ibanez and the Epiphone, I've owned and played both of them for years, and they've both had multiple pro setups as well. The Epiphone has a bone nut on it too, so it's kind of unfair to compare them with this new guitar that's come straight from the factory and not really been checked by anybody. But in terms of overall quality, the Epiphone has things like Grover tuners and the added bone nut now, and that's going to edge it for me in the quality stakes there. Now in terms of the rest of the performance, the Ibanez is actually a dark horse there. I think a lot of people don't give Ibanez guitars the credit that they deserve, because in many ways they're less exciting than other guitars like Les Pauls or like Thinline Teles, but this AS73FM has been fantastic from the factory straight from the go. It never needs looking after, it never needs retuning or anything like that. It's absolutely rock solid, so that's great too. Again though, because the Harley Benton costs 220 euros and the other two guitars are more than twice that, I'm going to give the build quality to Harley Benton, because what they've done for the price is fantastic there too. Now the next thing that I want to look at is going to be the weights of the three guitars, and there's a clear winner in this category too. Now one issue that I have had with the Harley Benton TE69TL is the fact that it's a very weighty beast, especially considering the fact that it's had bits of wood carved out of its body and it's a semi-hollow. It really should be lighter than it is. This specific guitar weighs 3.85 kilograms, which is about 8 pounds 8, which in my opinion for a Thinline Tele is just a tad too much. I'd love it if it was half a kilogram or a pound lighter, for example. It's very, very much body heavy, and it works for me, it's okay, but I much prefer playing it sitting down rather than standing up and using a guitar strap, obviously. So that's something that I don't quite like about this guitar. And looking at the feedback on the Thomann website about this model, it seems to be a common theme. If you buy one of these, it's probably going to be pretty heavy. Now the Epiphone Les Paul is actually a tad heavier than the Harley Benton. My 2014 Les Paul Traditional Pro weighs in at 3.86 or 87 kilograms, which is actually 8 pounds 8 at a bit, so it's a tiny little bit heavier than the Harley Benton TE69TL. But that being a Les Paul, with the mahogany body and the maple top and the mahogany neck as well, you would expect it to be much heavier than a Thinline Tele, so I actually give it credit over the Harley Benton for being just a tiny bit heavier as well. And the weight is more evenly distributed on the Les Paul, so it feels much comfier to play when you're standing up and using a guitar strap as well. But the lightest of the three guitars is actually the Ibanez AS AS73FM, which is pretty cool considering it's got by far the largest body of the three. But don't forget, it's got the 2F hole set up, so it's got more wood cut out of that linden body. Now, my specific Ibanez weighs in at 3.39 kilograms, which is 7 pounds 7, which is a very decent weight for a guitar like that, and it balances beautifully too. I would love it if the other two guitars weighed closer to what the Ibanez weighs, but there you go, you can't always have what you want, especially at lower price points. So in terms of the weight, the Ibanez is the clear winner of this test, followed by the Epiphone, followed by the Harley Benton in third place. And after the weights, we're going to come to another thing where it's very divisive, and that is going to be the playability of the three guitars. Now, the Harley Benton plays fantastically well. I love this roasted maple neck and the maple fingerboard. The setup had been done fantastically on the frets, and the intonation and action were spot on, straight from the factory. This has a Tele-shaped body, and it's very easy and very familiar for me personally too. As I said, it's too heavy, and I'd rather that it was half a kilogram lighter, but in terms of playability, no problems with upper fret access or anything like that. The guitar is very easy to play, and I've had no problems with it whatsoever. The Ibanez is possibly the hardest of the three for me to play, purely because it has a poly finish on the back of that neck, so that makes it just that little bit stickier to get up and down. And for me personally, I'm always going to choose a satin finished neck over a poly finished neck. Apart from that though, the Ibanez plays fantastically well. It's got a larger body, and if that's going to be an issue for you, consider maybe a 339 type model, or even something like a Thinline Tele. Third, in terms of the playability, is the Epiphone Les Paul. That guitar plays fantastically and always has done, but it's gone up a notch still further since having a bone nut fitted. That plays like a really great Les Paul should, and just really feels like at home in my hands. It has that really lovely satin finish chunky neck too, and that's going to elevate it to top of the playability stakes in this one. So playability wise, Epiphone Les Paul, then the Harley Benton, and then the Ibanez. And after that, we go into the other divisive category where things are going to get very different again, and that is the sounds and the versatility of these three guitars. Now, they are all fantastically versatile instruments, and they will all cover pretty much any kind of tonal ground, but we do have a lot of different options here, and perhaps some of them are more experts for certain things, whereas some of them work well for other genres of music. We'll start with the Harley Benton then. This one actually has the single coil neck pickup there, and the humbucking Tele bridge pickup that you can split down to a single coil, and this actually does sound like a Thinline Tele on steroids. I actually think that the bridge humbucker sounds a little bit like a smaller version of a Les Paul, so it's fantastic for rock stuff, it's fantastic for pushed mid-range sounds and AC/DC like tones, which I personally love. It's great for clean sounds too, and it does everything up to high gain very well indeed. It has a larger, more rounded sound than a solid body Telecaster would, which you would expect, I guess, from this Thinline body. Now, there is something that I don't quite like about it when it comes to the tones, and that is when you split down the bridge humbucking pickup to single coil. It doesn't sound like a Tele, it takes on an innate thinness which really doesn't work that well for me, and you will have heard that in some of the sound samples here. So for me personally, 99% of the time I'm going to be on the bridge humbucker for this one. I feel that the single coil neck pickup here, it's decent enough, but it doesn't have huge amounts of character, and so personally it's not something that I would be using that much. But as an all-rounder, this is a fantastic guitar. Now, I think the Ibanez suffered just a little bit in the tonal comparisons, because the Ibanez Classic Elite humbuckers, they're a jack of all trades, but unfortunately they don't quite master anything. They're a really good sounding pickup for everything, but not fantastic for anything, and they lack a little bit of the clarity of the Harley Benton, and they lack some of the clarity and also the aggression of the Epiphone pickups as well, so they fall slightly behind there for me. But the Ibanez is a fantastic guitar for pretty much everything. For smoother, lower gain jazzy stuff, it's really decent. Playing on the clean channel of the amp, on the both pickups on, pickup selection, the middle setting is fantastic for me. It's great for arpeggios and stuff like that. It's great for indie rock and stuff like that too. It has a fabulous, open, thick sound, but when we came to the metal stuff, the lack of clarity was not quite so good as it was with the other guitars. Now, the third guitar in terms of the sounds is going to be the Epiphone Les Paul, and that has those Zebra Epiphone Probucker 3s, which you can split down to single coils too. I love the sounds of these humbuckers. They're very hot, very aggressive sounding. They take my clean amp and push it into breakup pretty much straight away. But again, on the middle setting with those humbuckers, you get beautiful arpeggio sounds. You can do really nice classic soul sort of tones on it. It's a wonderful guitar for pretty much everything when it comes to clean sounds. When you push that Epiphone up into higher gain sounds too, it's great for everything from rock and punk and hard rock upwards, and it's fantastic for metal as well. So overall, I feel like it covers the most ground. It's a really clear pickup as well. So when we had the Rev G3 on, you can hear all 6 of the notes that the guitar is playing simultaneously, and that always works really well for me. Les Pauls are inherently versatile guitars, and this one really is a decent, authentic example of true Les Paul tonalities. So for me, when it comes to tones overall, I think I'm probably going to give it to the Epiphone as first choice. Second choice will go to the Harley Benton, and third place for me would be the Ibanez. So we've talked about the many different facets of these 3 guitars and how versatile they are, but what about if you're looking for something else that might also come into this equation? What else could be considered as the most versatile guitar for under $500? Well, I know that many of you are going to be screaming HSS Strat at the screen right now, and of course an HSS Stratocaster is going to be a great choice when it comes to a debate like this. Now you could go for something from the Squier Classic Vibe range there to be in this sort of a price point, and that is just going to work. The Squier Classic Vibe range is fantastic. I've owned a bunch over the years, and I really think they're worth the money in every respect. However, for me personally, the Strat neck pickup and the neck and middle together, that works for bluesy sort of stuff, but it's not quite where it's at for me personally in terms of the tones that I love. Now, another thing that you could go for is a bog standard Telecaster. I love Teles, and Teles are actually way more versatile than many players would have you believe. There's actually a couple of other Harley Benton guitars that I would recommend you check out if you're looking for something super versatile. The first would be the Aeolus. Now the Aeolus is like a semi-hollow Les Paul sort of a shaped guitar, and I've done a video on that one if you'd like to watch that as well, and that is a fantastic instrument. It's possibly the best Harley Benton that I've ever played, subjectively and objectively speaking. I think it costs about twice as much as this one would, so between 400 and 500 euros or dollars, but it has the full flamed roasted maple neck treatment. It has a beautiful body shape, it looks fantastic, and it can play any style of music. It is a wonderful instrument, and I'll probably buy one of those at some point in the future. The other Harley Benton that I would recommend would be the HB35 Plus, which is their more standard take on a classic 335 guitar. And again, I've compared the HB35 Plus to the Ibanez AS73FM, and you can watch that video elsewhere on my channel too. Now there's a couple of kind of oddball suggestions that I would mention for a very versatile guitar at this price point. Try out something like a Gretsch Streamliner if you want to go a bit quirky, or if you want to not have the same guitar as everybody else, or if you've got a little bit more money, try something like the PRS SE Hollow Body Piezo Edition. That is a hollow body that has amazing options in terms of pickups, plays, sounds, and looks fantastic, and it gives you acoustic tones thanks to the piezo pickup. That's going to be around €1,000 or dollars though, so much more expensive, but definitely a guitar on which you can play pretty much anything. At the end of the day then, this has been a fantastically interesting video for me personally to make, and I hope some of you have garnered a bit of enjoyment out of it as well. With these 3 guitars, with the Harley Benton TE69, the Ibanez AS73FM, and the Epiphone Les Paul Traditional Pro, what we have are 3 different guitars that have many similarities but many inherent differences too, all of which, however, can be used to cover pretty much any musical style and bass. So if you're someone who's looking for under that sort of 500 price point to get a one guitar that fits all and can cover pretty much any musical ground, any of these 3 are probably going to do the job. Which one do I think is best value for money, and which one would I buy? Well, on paper and in practice, I think that you can't go wrong with the Harley Benton in terms of value for money. If I personally was going to be buying one of these again, I'd try and find myself a 2014 Epiphone Les Paul Traditional Pro, because there is some magic in that model. I just love it, and I would want to own another one if this one ever goes missing or I break it or anything like that. So it's going to be the Epi for me, but you'll be very happy with any of these 3 guitars, I can assure you of that. But what you should probably do is head down to your local music store, check out the different styles and options on offer, because don't forget, these 3 different guitars have different body shapes, different weights, different pickup types, different neck profiles, different finishes to the neck, and so on. They feel different, they play different, they sound different too, even though you can make most of them sound the same at the end of the day. So head down to your local store, try out the one which fits you best personally as a guitar player player as a musician, and you should be a happy person at the end of that search. Now, I hope that this video has answered all of the questions that you might have had about these three guitars, but if there's anything else you'd want to know, drop me a line down there in the comments and I shall do my best to answer to the best of my ability. And don't forget to check out the rest of the videos that I've linked that also give you more information on these guitars too. Now, if you're still around, it would really make my day if you wanted to give this video a like or even subbed to my little channel, because that really does help. But that's been it for today's video. I've been Rich for Rich Words Music, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.